Hey, Angel here for MyNextTablet.com. Today with an unboxing video of the new Microsoft Surface Pro 8, including its accessories. Let's get started. Alright, let's start the unboxing of the Microsoft Surface Pro 8. It's available in many countries. I got it in Germany. Here it starts at 1,179 euros, and in the United States it starts at 1,099 US dollars. You can pay up to $2,599, so really expensive, or in the Eurozone up to 2,679 euros. So quite a pricey tablet, but the Surface Pro series is a Pro premium device as we're used to, so no big surprises there. Inside the box we get the tablet first, of course, and we already can see the new design that's inspired by the Surface Pro X, or is basically the same. Then we get the standard paperwork stuff, nothing special. And then we still get the old Surface Connect charger, which is nice. It's a magnetic charger. I'm guessing you can charge it using USB-C as well. And yes, the Surface Connect port is so that it is compatible with all the previous accessories, which is always a nice touch from Microsoft, that usually it's compatible with really generations ago accessories that are quite old. I also got the new signature keyboard with the Slim Pen 2. You've got to buy that separately. You might find a bundle or something sometimes, but usually you have to buy it separately. And yeah, here we get the new Slim Pen 2, which is a new pen that Microsoft introduced with the Surface Pro 8. And then there is the keyboard cover as well, which is a bit larger, I believe, than with the previous generation. Alright, a couple of days have passed already since I shot the first part of this video, and I played a bit with the Surface Pro 8 already. Let's take a look at the brand new design first. It's not completely brand new, but it's really brand new for an Intel Surface Pro. This now looks very similar to the Surface Pro X, which had an ARM processor, a new design with an ARM processor which is quite limited, but now we get the new design with an Intel processor. The Surface Pro 7 did look a bit old with huge black bezels. Now the screen bezels are much slimmer, especially on the sides. We still have a screen bezel here at the bottom, but that's also for the keyboard because that's where a magnetic bar is. And then when you're using the keyboard, you don't even see this black bezel. We also have a black bezel on the top, and that's where the 5 megapixel webcam is hidden, but also the infrared sensor for Windows Hello for the facial recognition, which works just as it did for many years now. It works really well. Surprises the face, recognizes the face, really well, and it just works great. So nothing new here with the Windows Hello facial recognition, but it works great. We get a 13-inch screen now. So the basic design, like the basic size of the tablet, did not change much compared to the Surface Pro 7, but the screen got bigger and the bezels got smaller. On the back we get a 10 megapixel camera here, and then we get a full metal body. I'm not sure if Microsoft is still using magnesium and magnesium alloy. Maybe it's aluminum now, but it certainly is metal, and it does feel really, really high-end. Like you have the feeling of holding something very expensive, and well, it is very expensive. A typical signature of Microsoft is this kickstand, of course, and you can fold it out smoothly in many angles. Actually, it can be quite, you can open it quite wide so that it's almost flat on the table, and that's perfect when you're drawing with the Slim Pen 2. So that's really nice, and the hinge here is very stable, like we're used to with Microsoft's Pro tablets. Something that I noticed very fast is that there's no micro SD card slot anymore. You know, with the Surface Pro 7 series, usually there's a micro SD card slot. I think it was always here, now it's gone. But it's not too much of a bummer, because there's another slot here, and you can use a SIM eject tool, put it inside this hole here, and then very quickly and easily you have access to the SSD, and you can change it yourself. Very easily, you don't need many tools, you don't need to open it in a complicated way or something. It's really easy. We've seen this with the Surface Pro X already, and now the Pro 8 has it too. So very nice. No micro SD card slot anymore, but you have fast and easy access to the SSD. I think that's a great exchange that Microsoft did here. The tablet did get very slim. We have here the Surface Connect port, then 2 USB-C 4.0 and Thunderbolt ports. Then here's the power button. There's a little bit plastic here for the Wi-Fi antennas. Then we've got the volume rocker here, a standard headphone jack. That might be the only premium tablet right now with a headphone jack, so that's still nice. And then not much else. One thing I noticed though is that we, as usual, get fans here, like fan slots, or how do you call them, like, yeah, fan slots, I guess. And they are very, very well hidden, as with the previous generation. But unlike the Core i5 version of the Surface Pro 7, this one actually does have active fans. And I guess Microsoft needed to use active fans because the design got so much slimmer, and the Intel Core i5 inside this one, and especially the Core i7 in the higher end version, does produce quite a lot of heat. It's very powerful, and I guess the body is just too slim. You know, it's a metal body with a lot of power. The heat needs to go somewhere. But I did notice that under heavy load, you certainly will hear those fans. And I noticed that the tablet still gets a bit warm, especially, I think it was right here, where I noticed that it can get quite warm. But we've seen that on the iPad Pro as well. So, you know, that's just a thing with very powerful tablets. The heat has to go somewhere. And here you can feel the heat, but you also hear those fans. One thing that surprised me a bit are the speakers, which are here. They are maybe visible in the video. I hope they're a bit visible. And the sound quality of those speakers is surprisingly good, especially for a Windows tablet. Usually Windows tablets don't have that great of a sound, and the sound is not as amazing as on an iPad Pro, but an iPad Pro has 4 bigger speakers, and here we get 2 quite small, slim speaker grills, but the sound quality is surprisingly good for what it looks like. Like, I'm comfortable watching YouTube with it, and I don't need, I'm not thinking of attaching external speakers or something. The sound quality certainly is quite good for a Windows device. Let's take a look at the new 13-inch screen. The previous generation had a 12.4-inch display, and now we're getting 13 inches. It still has an aspect ratio of 3:2, which I think is perfect for an office tablet. And the resolution is 2880 by 1920 pixels. And that means the pixel density is quite high. Text and icons do look very sharp. And this is a really, really nice screen in general. Like, viewing angles are very wide. It's quite bright. Like, you should be able to work with it outside in a cafe or so. Even during sunlight, it should be fine. I will try that once the sun shines again in Germany. And yeah, it's just a nice screen. Colors look great, contrast is great. I was watching YouTube with it already, and it does look nice. Like, I can comfortably and enjoy watching a movie with this screen, and the speakers are fine for that as well. One new aspect of the screen is that it supports 120 Hz now, just like the premium devices from Samsung and Apple, which is really nice. However, out of the box, at least on my version, the 120 Hz were not turned on. For that, you go to the settings to turn them on, and then you go to, the screen settings, and then to advanced settings, and then you can switch between 120 Hz and 60 Hz. Now, remember that if you switch to 120 Hz, it does use more energy. So your battery life will go down a bit once you switch to 120 Hz. So if you want to have as much battery runtime as possible, stick to 60 Hz. But the 120 Hz are very nice, especially for animations. They look much smoother than on a 60 Hz screen. And for the pen, it's a big advantage as well, because everything just looks smoother and faster on a 120 Hz screen. So really nice that we get that on a premium Windows device now. Well, then let's get to the new Surface Slim Pen 2. It looks like the first Slim Pen that Microsoft introduced with the Surface Pro X, and you can use that one as well. You can even use the previous Surface Pens, like this is the Surface Pen that Microsoft introduced, I believe, with the Surface Pro 5. So I got it many, many years ago, and it works great on the Surface Pro 8, no problems using it. So if you've got old Surface Pens lying around, just use them, they will work fine. But you can also use the new Slim Pen 2. It does not feel as high-end as the previous Surface Pen, which had a metal body, and it feels like a premium pen. This now is plastic, more similar to the S Pen, so it does not feel crazy high-end or so. It's plastic, but it works. Like, we've got a pressure sensitive tip as usual, then we've got one button on the side and another button here. If you press it one time out of the box, it starts Microsoft Whiteboard. If you press it 2 times, it takes a screenshot, and then you can, annotate it and edit the screenshot as usual. But you can configure it in the settings as you want. A new highlight of the Slim Pen 2 is that there's actually like a vibration motor built in. So it vibrates a little bit, not crazy much, but just a little bit when you draw, especially when you draw thicker. It makes it feel a little bit more like writing on paper. I would describe the feeling as writing like, with one of those highlighters, those yellow highlighters. If you go over paper with those yellow highlighters, it feels quite similar. So it does feel a little bit more like paper, that's for sure. It does not give you like new great functionality or something, but it does feel a little bit more like writing on paper because you feel like kind of a little bit of resistance. So quite a nice touch that Microsoft implemented. Otherwise, the pen works great, and since we've got a 120 Hz screen here now, it looks like everything like reacts instant. Like the ink is coming out of the pen instant, just like with a real pen on real paper. So the experience did improve quite a lot compared to the previous generations, like really a lot. It looks much smoother. And yeah, just works great. Like, I love that Microsoft is using a 120 Hz screen now. That really does improve the pen experience. And I did write in Microsoft OneNote already. That's my favorite note-taking app at the moment. And it works great. You can use it, like the tablet here seems to be made for Microsoft OneNote and the pen as well. Of course, this is all Microsoft products. So of course, it's made for that. And yeah, it's a great note-taking device if you're looking for like a large note-taking device. The Slim Pen is a nice pen, but as I said, you can use the previous pens as well. Alright, let's get to the internal hardware. Inside this Surface Pro 8 sits an Intel Core i5 1135G7 processor, but you can also get it with a Core i7 1185G7 chipset. So new and quite fast processors. You can choose between 8, 16 or 32 GB of RAM. I got the 8 GB version, and the internal SSD can be 128 GB up to 1 TB in size. And you've seen it, I have the 128 GB SSD, but in this case it's not that much of a problem because you've seen it, you can change the SSD yourself if you like. Both Surface Pro 8s have an Intel Iris X graphics chip. And you can see in the Geekbench 5 comparison here that the graphics performance, especially the graphics performance, did improve quite a bit compared to the Surface Pro 7. But to be honest, if you own the Surface Pro 7, it probably makes not that much sense to upgrade to the Surface Pro 8. You will notice a bigger difference if you're upgrading from the Surface Pro 5 or Surface Pro 6, or if you're completely new to the Surface Pro series, of course. You can also see that the Apple iPad Pro with the M1 processor is much more powerful, especially the graphics performance again. I didn't try Photoshop yet or any other like demanding graphics apps or like Fortnite, but all of those should run. You will even be able to play Fortnite with this, maybe not with high settings, but it should be possible to play Fortnite like with decent settings and in a decent quality. I will try that for my final review. Let's check out the new signature keyboard. It is a little bit different compared to the previous type covers, and it looks very similar to the keyboard of the Surface Pro X, and I'm guessing those are interchangeable anyway. Like this one for sure will work with the Surface Pro X as well. It does seem to be, to me, a bit more like sturdy, like the keyboard seems to be a bit more sturdy than the previous generations, and I love typing on it. Like, it's very comfortable to type on. This might even be like the best keyboard cover for a tablet right now. Like, it's really comfortable to type with it, almost like on a proper laptop. The touchpad below is quite large as well, and yeah, it just works great. It's connected magnetically, of course, using this connector, and just as we used to, it snaps quite nicely, and the magnets are quite strong, like you can hold it on the cover and the Surface Pro 8 should not drop, but you know, maybe put your hand underneath in case it drops. It's quite pricey, as you know. But yeah, it works quite well, like the connection here is really good. Then we've got the magnetic bar here, as we're used to from the previous generations, and that's why the black screen bezel on the bottom disappears if you connect it like this, and it makes it a bit more comfortable to work on. And of course, if you close it, the screen is protected, but as usual, the back is, yeah, it's not protected. But you need it for the kickstand, of course, to fold it out. And then we open it up. Windows Hello will start, and then you can start to work, and it works like really well. Like I love working with the Surface Pro series. Now you can put the pen, the Slim Pen 2 fits inside here, and then it's secured magnetically as well, and it's charged while sitting in here. So the Slim Pen 2 does not have its own battery anymore, unlike the previous Surface Pens. And it's hidden like this, and you cannot lose it. However, I noticed that if you're using the previous Surface Pens, you can still place it here on the side magnetically. So yeah, that's nice. But yeah, the keyboard, you know, as we're used to from the Surface Pro series, is a really nice accessory. A couple of words about the software. The Surface Pro 8 is running Windows 11, of course, but you know, you will be able to install Windows 11 on the previous Surface Pro tablets as well, and on your other Windows devices. Like it's quite compatible with many old devices. So I don't have much to say about Windows 11. You know, it's standard Windows 11 on here. Everything works great with the touchscreen, but also with the touchpad. You know, like the start menu is in the middle now. You can change the position if you want to. Everything looks a bit different, a bit more modern. That goes even for like the file management app, the Windows Explorer, and the Microsoft Store looks a bit different. Android apps don't seem to work yet. I couldn't find it in the Microsoft Store. I guess Microsoft still needs to turn that feature on. But in the future, Android apps should work using the Amazon App Store on the Surface Pro 8 and the Surface Pro 7 as well on all Windows devices, which will be really interesting once that feature is turned on. Okay, yeah, not much to say about Windows 11. You know, it's standard Windows 11, nothing special for the Surface Pro 8 here. Alright, that's been my unboxing video of the Microsoft Surface Pro 8. My first impressions are really good. Like, I love the new design. It's not crazy new because we've seen it with the Surface Pro X, but I like that we get the new design on an Intel chipset now. It really feels really high-end, like a super premium tablet. I love that you can change the SSD yourself. The kickstand is great as usual. The keyboard is fantastic as usual, and the pen works really nice as well. So overall, this seems to be a really nice premium Windows tablet. Pricey, of course, but really nice as far as I can see in a couple of days. I will start my proper review now, and then you will hear more about this tablet in a couple of weeks. Alright, that's been my unboxing of the Microsoft Surface Pro 8. If you have any questions, write them down below. I'm Andrzej from mynexttablet.com. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.